Well, what's going on, everybody? Starting the stream a little early, waiting on Imani to hop back in. She's having some issues with the computer, but wanted to get things started. Let you guys know I am here. We are here. We are going to get started at some point, but I dropped a comment in for you guys to go ahead and start ranking this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I personally think it's like for me probably in that eight range. I would say maybe I wanted it to be higher, but things being what they are, I felt like personally this episode wasn't as impactful as last week's episode. Um, though it was a solid. Uh, it had its moments. I'll say I won't go into too much depth, but it definitely had its moments where it shined, and then there were other moments where it was kind of like, that's interesting. Um, I am a bit shocked, and I was talking to Imani off camera about this, but I feel like Marvel is playing it a bit too safe with these shows. I was expecting them to make some bold moves with these shows to kind of set up some things for the future, but that hadn't really happened as of yet. Um, and maybe those were I came into it with the wrong expectations, but they did do a really good job of marketing the show in a way that uh, both this show and WandaVision. Now, this show is definitely better than WandaVision. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like this show a lot more. I'll probably go back and rewatch it from start to finish, since this was supposed to be a movie that they just broke up into 6 parts. Um, but I think overall, there were. It felt like there was something missing in the show, and I like that. I'm not. I'm trying not to go into too many details of the episode just yet. But I think overall, the show for me kind of sort of it's like it there were a lot of things it touched on but didn't dive too deeply into. It almost had too many plot points at some points during the overall show, because I'm trying to just judge this thing from as as a whole and not on an episode to episode basis. I think that I'm going to revise my ranking. I'm probably going to say like a 7, but an overall probably like a 7.5 to 8 for the entire show. Because like I said, there are some very strong moments throughout the show. There's some really good character moments between Bucky and Sam Wilson, and like get a lot more character development for Sam Wilson. I buy into him becoming Captain America, which I think is the overall point of the show. Uh, so, it is very much successful, and I'm definitely looking forward to Captain America 4, which was announced is under in development right now. I don't know if that actually came from Marvel, but I did see online that they are working on Cap 4 with Sam Wilson being Captain America. So that's definitely something that we'll all be looking forward to. Um, but yeah, what's the saying? So back to my original point of saying, like, I feel like Marvel is playing it a little too safe with these shows. WandaVision and Captain or Falcon and the Winter Soldier both come off the heels of season 2 of The Mandalorian, which, in my opinion, both of these series haven't really, from a story standpoint, been able to stand up to that show. Now, season 1 of The Mandalorian played it safe, but I feel like season 1 of The Mandalorian had to kind of play it safe in some areas because it needed it needed to be successful more so than, like, you know bold, if you will. I think it needed a safe entrance and a safe, like, starting point foundation for Disney and Lucasfilm to kind of sort of take off. from, which they did in season 2. But for WandaVision and for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like the success of the MCU up to this point, like this has been one of the most successful franchises in the 2000s, maybe in the last 30 years, or more. Like, I don't feel like it was necessary. Like, they didn't need to play it as safe as they did with the show. You know what I mean? Like, they could have totally taken a lot more risk. Like there's some points where they're touching on social issues, and then they decide to go back more into the like a they get away from it. Like, it has some identity issues for me that it's not like a big deal, but it does kind of sort of take away from the story, because there's certain elements of it that I really like and that I really dug, and then there's certain moments that I kind of felt like, all right, this is kind of like cookie cutter, formulaic, if you will, and I wanted some more of that bold stuff. Like, I almost feel like the Isaiah Bradley stuff should have had more of a spotlight. There should have been more of an emphasis on that aspect of the story. Like, the Zemo stuff and all of that stuff was kind of cool, but I think if they would have kept it a little bit more centralized, maybe, since it's not it to me didn't feel like it was a part of the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it felt more like an interpersonal story. So if they would have kind of sort of stuck within that, with, you know, having Bucky and Sam and Isaiah Bradley and his Elijah, his grandson, if the story would have focused on that a lot more than it did, then maybe I would rank this a little higher than I did. I mean, 8 is pretty good, but I've felt like there was potential for this show to be like a 9 or a 10 almost. And so, like, that's kind of sort of it for me. This finale didn't feel like the most grand of finales. Like, I felt like I said, last week's episode for me had way more impact than this one did. The Carly, she kind of feels like she's I don't know. I think Carly is kind of sort of one of my biggest disappointments with this show, because she's kind of like, I don't know. They built her up in a way that I felt like she could have had a even larger impact than what she did, and she fizzled out like after the 3rd episode or so for me. And I think, here she is. Hey, there we go.
Shout out to the internet for failing me, but I'm back, better than ever.
We back.
Here to talk about today.
How you doing, by the way?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, you know. Just I was basically reiterating some of the stuff I was saying off camera to you about, like, you know, for me, Marvel's not taking enough risk on these shows, and I do understand that, you know, they're not. WandaVision, for one, was not intended originally to be a TV show. Like, it kind of sort of evolved into a TV show earlier on in its development than Falcon and the Winter Soldier did. Like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to be like a movie, and they decided to break it up into a 6-part series, limited series. That is what we got, and it feels much like that. But my comparison was like, season 1 of The Mandalorian felt safe because it needed to be successful, whereas season 2, they took a lot more risk. They brought in a lot more inside baseball type of references from the Star Wars universe, and it helped the show for not only normal fans and normal viewers, but for people like myself who like saw things and be like, yo, they pulled this came from XYZ. And I felt like, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision were both on Disney Plus, Marvel had an opportunity to kind of sort of go deeper inside of its lore handbook to get like the super fans, the Marvel fan, like fanatics, really raving about both of these shows and what it could be setting up. And so for me, it both of these shows kind of sort of under, maybe they oversold themselves a bit in the marketing, and not in a drastic light. Like it's not like, oh, it's the end of the world, like Marvel is done for. It's more or less like they could have did a little bit more to kind of sort of excite the fan base.
I agree, but I also don't think it's fair to The Mandalorian to compare season one of The Mandalorian to these two shows because I would still say that season one was more exciting. I don't remember a boring episode. Not to say that every episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier has been boring, but even without the lore, the writers found a way to keep us coming back next week. I did miss an episode. I saw it the morning it came out every single time. So yeah, as someone who's not as deep into the lore as the Mandalorian, I would say that it kept me regardless of that. And this show, I agree, built us up to something that didn't follow through, I guess. Or not. I say WandaVision did more of that. But as I told you off air, I rewatched WandaVision last week, and I do have more respect for it now than I did when we watched it. I think if you just sit back and accept WandaVision for what it is and not what it could be or what you think is happening next, it's not terrible. And I would like to try that with this also.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, so to that, this is a good question now that you're on the air, because there was something we were talking about behind the scenes, which was so this show went through some comprehensive reshoots back in the fall of last year when everything started to open up back in Georgia and Atlanta, when because they did reshoot a good portion of this, because in the
Okay.
original script there was a there was actually a virus that was a part of the plot. Like it was a major aspect of the plot of this story.
You can call it what it was. It was a global pandemic
It
with,
was a global
yeah.
pandemic, so basically mimicking COVID, and it just so happened that COVID happened at the same time, and so Disney and Marvel felt like, ooh, maybe this is a little inappropriate given the current conditions of the world. So when they did the reshoots back in the fall, they took a lot of that out, but you can see they left a lot of the elements in, like in the earlier episodes where they're talking about the vaccine, and like they were talking like, the mentor, Carly's mentor, who passed away in the in Europe, where I forget what country that was.
Ramadanya.
All of those were supposed to be like patients that needed this vaccine, and because of like the GRC and everything that they were doing, they were basically limiting the amount of vaccines that were being distributed to the refugees that were being relocated after everyone started coming back after the blip. And you can kind of sort of like, you
I
know,
get why they took that out.
yeah, because it's like, yo, that really hits home, because it's like really like
Watching black and brown people die at a
there
faster
would have
rate.
been,
Yeah.
right, there would have been all type of conspiracy theories about Marvel and Disney like being involved with COVID and all type of craziness. But like I can understand why they took those elements out, but it's almost as if they didn't really replace it with anything that kind of made sense. It's not like the show didn't make sense at all, but like having that knowledge and knowing that that was an aspect of the story would have, to me, probably strengthened the Flag Smashers motivations a little bit for a lot of the audience, because earlier on in the show everyone was pretty much on board with, they were kind of split. People were like, yo, I kind of understand what they're trying to do here. And imagine if like, they kept the vaccine thing and the disease, the global pandemic aspect of the story, and then like this group is basically like, your Robin Hood type of group where they're like stealing stores of this vaccine that is, they're safeguarding for the people, basically the masses, and like now they're redistributing it to those who really really need it. Like, I don't know, maybe that would have helped people empathize with Carly a lot more, especially in the end, because let's say in this episode, right, like we're talking about the UN, they're assembling to do, I forget what it was. What were they What were they trying to do? What was
They
the
were
plot?
voting whether or not they were going to move the refugees out of the camps and kick them back to the countries where they were before the blip. Basically, when the blip happened, everybody disappeared, and people who were without or had less were like, yo, there are a whole bunch of empty worlds and cities with a surplus of food and space.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go to them. And so, the idea of one world, one people, that wasn't just Carly and her group. That's how the world was for the 5 years during the blip. And now all these people come back and are trying to figure out where they fit into the world. They didn't touch on it much on the show. And I wonder if, in the edited scenes that we would have seen that. But I'm sure money had a lot to do with that decision.
Oh, you had to. It had to. I think it definitely would have strengthened their case and their point. But it it is what it is. I'd say, like, at this point, but I still feel like this could have. That's what's going on.
I'm trying to look it.
Okay, hold on. Nah, that's on I think that's on Twitch. Anyway, um, yeah, we are streaming on 3 platforms right now. I don't know. What? I don't know even how to add. Man, I guess I gotta let me pull up Twitch. I guess. Sorry about that, guys. Spam. Yeah, no. So, all in all, the stuff with Sam and Bucky was the strongest, followed by Isaiah Bradley, who we didn't get enough of. The introduction of John Walker as initially Captain America, but becoming U.S. agent, which I feel like they
Can
really
I talk about
underplayed
that for a
because that
second?
was kind of like that should have been a little bit more significant in my opinion because that's who he's most known as is U.S. agent and not what you call it, Captain America.
So I would like to say, I understand them. Well, no. Since they didn't make it a big deal, maybe they shouldn't have introduced him as U.S. agent in this show. Only because they hyped him up as, someone who has lost his marbles. He's going crazy. He lost his best friend. And at this point, he's just looking for vengeance. They set that up even further in the post-credit scene for the last episode where they had him, working with tools and making his own shield. He said
Yeah.
Captain America, he was going to make his own shield. So in this episode, I'm expecting to see someone who was unhinged and crazed. And we didn't really get that. For like 2 seconds, his eyes were only on Carly. But by the end of the episode, he was like a Boy Scout and working fine beside Sam and Bucky. And I don't know, just from, I'd say, episode 3, they had that going elsewhere. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. Or maybe they just shouldn't have done that. Either they needed to hype up him losing his mind a little bit more and then reveal him as U.S. agent in the future, or don't do that at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like they pulled back on on that aspect of his character, and I think me personally, I feel like that was a mistake. They could have made him a little bit. You could have handled that in a way where people would have understood where he was coming from. Not to justify it, but like Carly killing what's Lamar
Mm-hmm.
is for a lot of people that would have been like, yo, I can understand why that would have sent him off the edge. Like I would have understood why that would send him off the edge. It was no
I understood.
like it. I don't feel like they needed to kind of pull back on his character like they did. I think they could have addressed it, and maybe he could feel regretful or remorseful later, but not in this show. Like when we see U.S. Agent again, like he's had time and distance to put between what happened in the events of this show, because it's going to be a while before we see U.S. Agent again. So in that light, like, which is where once again, like them not taking risk, because it would have made perfect sense for there to be some sort of Thaddeus Ross appearance. Maybe they couldn't get the actor to come in, like maybe it was a scheduling conflict or whatever. But for them not to introduce Thaddeus Ross or reintroduce him into this show in some capacity is a missed opportunity, because for book fans, they know that U.S. Agent is like one of the leading members of the Thunderbolts, and so you introduce this character, you're going to have those expectations because that's where the comic book fans know him from. Like they recognize him as U.S. Agent, and he is a member of the Thunderbolts. Like he is their Captain America, if you will, and they're kind of like they're a clandestine black book operative group that they operate kind of like the CIA. Like they're the superhero version of the CIA, basically. Like where they've got like a level of autonomy that most don't have, and the things that they do are pretty much like off the books, and it's not something that you want heroes, if you will, or the Avengers to kind of sort of take part in. Like this, and that's kind of sort of why they're there, and that's why they operate the way they do, because there's certain things that the heroes, because of their status and their stature within society, they can't do, but that's what that group is there for. So yeah, like in that regard, in that light, there's no real need, in my opinion, for them to pull back on his character. Like let him be who he is. Like he should, I don't know, that outfit of rage would have definitely suited the moment. And then we could have addressed, his regret and remorse in another series when we see him again, but not in this one.
Or even if they chose to address it, like him fighting back and trying to attack Sam and Bucky, and then in the end, he got up to do the same thing to Sam as he did to that guy. Had they done away with that and him been remorseful in that moment, maybe it would have helped a little bit, and we would have understand the ending that we had a little bit better. But what we got, definitely, I'm not happy with.
Yeah, because it's like he does the thing with the shield. He basically, I'm assuming he decapitates the dude on the plaza stairs. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what it seemingly implies with the shield, and then after that, like to your point, that was his moment. If you were going to have a moment of remorse or regret within this series, that was it. But he doesn't. Like he ends up doubling down on that and fighting Bucky and Sam. So like at that point, it's like, yo, you got to commit to this. This is what he's going to be for the rest of this series and the rest of this show. But they back down from it, and I just feel like that was I don't know if it was a mistake, but it's definitely a missed opportunity.
To answer the Captain's Log question of how would this have been received as a movie, I refuse to believe that it would have made sense this way. Like there's no way you could have watched a film, seen him lose his mind in the warehouse and try to kill Sam, and then in the end they're working together like friends. I don't think that would have happened in the movie. And they advertised this as a movie broken up into 6 parts, and that's not what this feels like. So no, I don't think it could have worked as a film. I think they would have to make some major changes.
Yeah, I think that them reworking the plot the way they did, I think they would have had to do they if this was going to be a movie, they would have had to probably delay the release and rewrite the script and do something a little different than what they executed, or take out some things. Like I don't even know how important the Flag Smasher aspect of this was at the end of the day. Like if we were going to shorten this into a 2.5 hour movie, or 2 hour 20-minute movie, feature-length film, I don't know if the Flag Smashers would have been an important aspect of the story, given the story that we got. Like I would have focused more on Bucky, Sam, Isaiah, John Walker, and in that team, and maybe Sharon, not Shannon, but Sharon Carter as well. But like it was just, there's too many things going on, and I feel like the Flag Smashers being the kind of like the false flag, no pun intended, villain of this show in a film format, I don't think that would have worked the way it was executed. I think this would have fallen flat for a lot of people had it been shortened into 2.5 hours.
I actually disagree. I think they could have focused more on the Flag Smashers, because I think there was a missed opportunity to highlight that the Flag Smashers were made up of, for the most part, people of color. Like that should have been something they touched on, and they really didn't. There was no mention in the show that Carly, and I'm assuming the nationality of the actress, her name is Kelly. I forget her last name, but she got a little something going on. Y'all see it. There was no mention of that at all. I think that's important, and I felt like they should have given more attention to that. And I do agree that's a lot of stuff, and maybe it was better served as a television show, but then they had more than enough episodes to address that. Maybe it's something that they addressed before they got rid of the pandemic aspects of the show, but they needed to find a way to touch on it in other ways.
I agree with that. Like maybe the Isaiah Bradley stuff was done in the reshoots where, because I'm just trying to figure out, like, given you're approaching this from like a movie that's going to be in theaters. It's going to be basically 2 hours, a little over 2 hours long. There's a lot of this that, I mean, how much, like, you're either going to cut out the Isaiah Bradley stuff altogether, or you could probably going to take out the Flag Smasher stuff, like, just to get it into that time frame. And for me, I would have rather, if it were in a movie format, like, I agree with you on the point of the Flag Smashers in this serialized format. They could have doubled down on them and made them a little bit stronger, and there was still room for Isaiah the way they had him illustrated. But I think if it were a film, personally, I would have focused more on Isaiah Bradley and John Walker, U.S. agent, and that aspect of it. And the Flag Smashers would have been something else. And, like, I don't even know if we would have touched on that. Like, they would not. Well, I won't say I wouldn't have touched on it.
If there were no Flag Smashers, then why would Isaiah Bradley have been a conversation? Because they went to see Isaiah because of the super serum. I will say, though, it never really made sense to me why Bucky chose to go to Isaiah. Like, yes, he was a super soldier, but you knew that he needed to be hidden. Why did you go there in the first place?
I think that was because him fighting Isaiah back in the 50s during the Korean War as the Winter Soldier, and the whole conversation around, like, which is like, those were some of my favorite moments from the series, were the conversations between Bucky and Sam on Cap, and why Cap chose, like, all of that stuff was great for me. And I think part of the reason why, or at least for me in this, if I were rewriting the script and taking out the Flag Smashers, like, Bucky taking Sam to Isaiah after they made John Walker Captain America would have just been to, like, reiterate the fact that this is probably why Cap chose you. Like, maybe Steve Rogers knew about Isaiah, and when he came back from the future timeline, from his variant timeline, and he gave you the shield, like, maybe this was part of the reason why. Like, so that would have been more of the integral part of the story. Then we would have got more stuff with Isaiah Bradley and, like, his backstory, and, like, everything that we got basically in last episode, and then episode 3 when we were introduced to him. So, like, I would have focused more on that stuff than probably the Flag Smashers in a movie format. Like, I think that would have had more impact, and it would have helped this story kind of breathe. And I like those character development moments in those elements. I didn't get too much character development with Sam in regards to the Flag Smashers. Like, they were kind of like a plot device, but, like, for me, a lot of the moments that sold me were, like, the Bucky and Sam interactions, and then the Sam and Isaiah interactions, and then, like,
the only thing that makes me want to disagree with you is the interactions between Sam and Carly were very valuable. I appreciated the conversation that he had with her before John Walker bursted in and interrupted it. And then again, was it the same episode or in the next episode when he went to stop her? But I don't know. We could go back and forth on it, but there's definitely a lot of plot holes, and it seems like Marvel is good for that right now.
Yeah, there's a lot that they've got to kind of sort of fill out, work out. But um, also too, that suit was underwhelming for me.
Can I just pull up the picture of Bird Person, please? Can I just let me just do it
That's
real
fine.
quick?
That's fine. I was not digging the suit. Like I feel like personally for me, I don't know why they held out on showing us the suit. They could have showed us that like last episode. But also too, like that just does not seem like it's Wakandan technology. Like I understand maybe it's the wings more so than the suit. I don't know. They'll have to explain because it wasn't the case. Maybe the suit and the wings came included, but I feel like that the wings maybe came from Wakanda and then the suit hopefully came from somewhere else. And I don't know. I don't know. But maybe it's I don't know, dog. I wasn't feeling the suit though. I wasn't feeling the suit. I like the comic book version of his suit, which I had not seen before today, but the comic book version of the suit for me is better. The red wings make a significant difference in that in the appearance of the suit for me.
For the Rick and Morty fans out there, this is all I saw the moment I saw him on screen, and I couldn't see anything else. Sorry, I can't get it out of my head. That's what I saw. That is Bird Person from Rick and Morty. If you've never seen it, it's a great show. Go check it out. But that's all I see. That's what he looks like to me. All the way down to the headgear.
That's crazy. Oh man.
Nobody else saw Bird Person? Tell me in the comments. Please tell me y'all saw Bird Person, because that's what I saw. I'll get that out of the way. But yeah,
yeah, I don't know. That wasn't I don't know. Captain Log said it was the shoulder pads. I guess. I think it overall it was I don't know, man. Maybe the color scheme was off to me.
I will say it just looks cooler in the comics, but I think you've got to know, and by cool in the comics, I'm talking about the white on his face, the way the goggles work and how they go down his neck. That looks really fire in the comics, but things don't always translate well on screen. I think a great example of that is the X-Men. Like they never had the uniforms that we were used to until Days of Futures Past, and we saw, not Days of Future Past, First Class. And we saw those do look a little corny, and there's a reason why they didn't put them in the first X-Men film. And so that being said, it doesn't work well. We've posted pictures of the original in the Discord, but yeah, it's all of the white. It just doesn't. I think the head jockstrap. Yeah,
his head looks small. It made his head look really small.
He might have that small head.
And you gotta account for that as a costume designer.
Yeah,
maybe we need to rework the headpiece a little bit to kind of fit his head. I mean, same thing. Well, I don't know. Maybe U.S. Agent to his head, but I think his costume wasn't supposed to. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to look right on him. Like this they had to get. I don't know. Maybe I got to get used to it, but to me, it did not. He didn't look good in that suit. Like his Falcon suit looks better than that suit.
Did his goggles and Falcon do the same thing, or like go down?
Yeah, but I think they're they're just. I think it's just the goggles. I don't think he has that neck piece. Like I feel like that's just unnecessary. Like what is that doing? That's not doing anything. Like he's got the cowl around his face, and that doesn't do anything. Like I don't think that was necessary. Because his Falcon suit, he doesn't have that cowl. It's just the goggles.
Wait, they got Party City has the Falcon plus size costume all ready to go. Did they drop this today? No, they dropped.
They probably had that already. They send those out to vendors like
that
well before the show
it went live on the
aired.
website 6 days ago. So you can now look just like that. But it's definitely the cowl. I'm looking at it on my laptop. It's all of this. And yeah, he did not have that as Falcon.
Yeah, here I'm about to show. I'm about to share this. Uh,
Why did they do that?
here
I
is.
do appreciate the Wakandan tech because his wings do more than fly now. You know, he was able to protect himself with them. I thought that was pretty dope. I like the abilities they gave him, you know, with the jetpacks now. The Red Wings had them. He had a more powerful one. And the suit as a whole definitely allowed him to compete with the super soldiers.
All
Like,
right. So here's something. It has to be the cowl because like this is basically the same suit from what we just saw, but that headpiece is gone, and that like made so much more of a difference. But I like this look on the left a lot better.
yeah,
This suit is like I don't know who designed this suit, but I like that suit, yo.
I the
Like,
costume
hey,
departments need to go back and look check that out. Just some things
put
just don't work.
yeah put a
Looks
one
corny.
put a one in the comment section if you like the Sam's Captain America suit, and put a two in the chat if you don't, or would have changed it, or would like to see another version of it. That's a two for basically dislike, one for like. Well, we know how Imani feels. I'm basically at the same mind. I don't know. I think it's that headpiece show because like that suit that I just had up on screen was pretty much the one on the right was pretty much the one from today, but that headpiece made that much of a difference for me.
I'm not feeling it. I don't know. And
Um,
especially after we saw the Dora Milaje, you know, do their
they
thing,
outfits are
we
fire.
got to see a little bit more of how Bucky's arm worked. I expected to see some dope Wakandan tech. If anything, I was expecting to see a suit inspired by the shield that they made for Captain America in Infinity War. If y'all remember, he didn't have his shield, and so
It
Black Panther
had that like
was proud
yeah,
of
he had
like
that.
get this man a shield, and it was almost like two separate pieces. But
Mm-hmm.
that piece it had a little bit of gold on it, and it was similar to what they gave Bucky. I was expecting to see something like that. Now, even though since he's Captain America, if they decided to give him that title, or even if he decided to claim it, okay, you want to paint the suit later, cool. But I wasn't expecting Wakanda to put stars and stripes on an outfit.
Well, I mean, it is Captain America, but I thought they would have executed the Stars and Stripe a little bit better.
The captain's log is black. I agree. If this wasn't white, I might feel better. The cowl thing, I just didn't like that.
I don't think it's necessary. They could have just took that off and just kept the goggles. That and then because I think the suit, it's the cowl that really is throwing me off because it doesn't look comfortable. Two, it's not functional. Like, what? Why is he doesn't need that? Clearly, he's not used that before. It's not been incorporated in any of the suits, so I don't know. It's doing way too much on the suit in that regard. But we've seen Captain America's suit evolve over the course of his 3 films, so I'm pretty sure we'll see this suit evolve as well.
I think Marvel is very good at listening to the fans. So if we all complain publicly on social media and say that Anthony Mackie's Captain America suit is ugly, they'll listen to us.
They definitely listen more than Lucasfilm does.
Yes. We
That's for sure.
Marvel fans,
That's for
we
sure.
have so much power, okay?
Yeah,
Just
really.
go say that the suit is ugly, and someone in the fashion department is going to get an email in the morning and it'll be fixed by the next time we see it, okay?
Marvel
Maybe.
fans gave Kevin Feige and Disney leverage over Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man when they had none because of their complaints about Sony taking back rights of the character. Like, I've never seen a franchise. I've never seen that happen before. That's the first time probably
We
in the history
bullied
of a
Tony
franchise
into it.
that fans literally peer pressured, bullied a corporation into backing out of a deal where they had all of the leverage. Like that is insane. But
Well,
that's Marvel. That's Marvel
that's
fans. Y'all have that power. That's for sure.
just go, just tweet, yo,
Yes,
that new
they are
Captain
listening. That
America.
is, I can confirm that. Like we can confirm that
It's
that
ugly.
Marvel and Disney brass are listening to everything that's said on social media or reading, listening,
Does
reading.
Does Kevin Feige have Instagram?
He probably does.
All
He
right,
probably, I don't know.
I'm
He
a
might not.
I'm gonna edit this. Yo, Kevin Feige, that new Captain America suit is ugly.
It's going on Instagram.
Cut. I'm putting it
Just
on.
that part. We that's what we posting that to Instagram. I'm with that.
I
Yeah,
Side note,
let's.
the first post Tom Holland made after they brought Spider-Man back into the MCU, he used the clip from Wolf of Wall Street saying, "I'm not leaving."
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
not
that.
leaving. I
I
was
remember that. That
excited when
was
he
great.
posted that too. That was a great day. But yeah,
That was an
costume
amazing week.
department.
All that happened
Costume
within a
department
week.
too.
All that happened within a week. Like it was the fan complaint followed by like Tom Holland joining in on the boycott, and then like cause what I don't know what happened, but that was an amazing like week. And then by the end of the week, Sony had backed out of the and renegotiated with Marvel and Disney, and it's like that's insane.
Yeah, I'm glad. Oh,
Yes,
do we want to talk about the possibility of Captain America 4?
I did break that news, but yes, how do you feel
Oh,
about that? Because that broke the social media internets this today.
I'm excited for it. I would like to. I don't know if I want to see more of Isaiah Bradley right now. I want Marvel to take their time with that story because I know we're going to see Eli Bradley again as he will be Patriot in the Young Avengers, but some justice needs to be brought to the story of Isaiah Bradley within the Marvel universe. And so I want them to handle that right. I don't
It
know
and
if,
it
hmm?
it can't be that the fake museum thing at the end because that
Yeah,
was cool. I acknowledge that was cool,
right.
but nah, that can't be
Yeah.
the end of
And
it.
actually, I didn't touch on that. I will say I appreciated that from Sam because my worry was that anything that Sam can do to make things right for Isaiah Bradley with the government could end up hurting him. Like the
Yeah,
government doesn't know that he's alive, they think he's dead. So, I was really worried, but I appreciated that. And I felt a lot better seeing that because I was like, yo, if they, oh, justice for him, and now, there's no super serum and they don't even know that John Walker has it, what if they go after him again? So that is a concern of mine, though, knowing that old girl is the power broker and that Sam doesn't know. I'm a tad concerned. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I don't want a possible Captain America 4 to be about Isaiah Bradley. Let Sam lead his own film, which he deserves, and have his own storyline or whatever, but still find a way to make things right for Isaiah Bradley.
yeah, I agree with that. I think the Isaiah Bradley stuff should be handled through Patriot, uh, because I mean that's his bloodline. So like all of what he's a lot of his viewpoints on the world has to come from Isaiah. So like that should be reflected in his story. However, yeah, they don't need to force that down the uh, Captain America 4 plot because unless no, because it has to be about Sam. It's Captain America 4. Like they have to address it, but Captain America 4 being the first appearance, full on movie as Sam, Sam Wilson being Captain America, that has to be his movie. But they can't not address the Isaiah Bradley stuff at some point, and I think that Patriot is to me the right avenue for that. I also want to address the Super Soldier Serum thing too because it's I don't know, it confuses me a little bit because sometimes it's like John Walker took the serum when like sometimes you can tell he took the serum and sometimes you can't. Like when he was fighting Carly and the other flag smashers in the street, he was getting his butt kicked. And it looked like exactly how he was fighting prior to taking the serum. And then in the end, when he decides to get the Jeep and pull it off of
Mm-hmm.
the, like, I'm like, okay,
As long
so
as he's looked.
is he strong, or did he take the serum, or did he not take the serum? Like, where's, like, it's like, I don't know how strong the doses are of this serum. Like, it's clearly not on the same level as Steve Rogers and uh, Bucky, but like, it seems to vary, and I don't like the inconsistency with that.
I feel like there's a deleted scene because I think I said this, if not the last episode and the one before that. Carly and the other flag smashers had a conversation about how painful the process was, how long it lasted, and how much they suffered to become super soldiers. And in, was it episode 4 where he showed out? There's like a gap of hours from when he was having the conversation with Lamar about whether or not he would take it to when he shows up and then all of a sudden, you know, he's hearing a little bit better. I'm questioning whether or not he really took it. Or you might be right. Maybe there's some potency issue. Maybe Carly took a different version of it or something. Maybe it has an expiration date, but something is up.
Yeah, maybe you got to take multiple doses. I don't know what's up with it, because like, there's a, so to your point, in that episode, they have that conversation in the plaza. Lamar basically is like, co-signs him taking it without him knowing he's co-signing him taking the serum, John Walker. And when we see him again on screen and they're going to confront Carly and the Flag Smashers, there's a scene early on where they're fighting on the stairs, and I think one of the Flag Smashers grabs like this big metal pipe and tries to hit him with it, and he
Yes,
grabs
he
it and
bends it.
bends it. And I'm like, okay, super soldier serum, clearly, because he would not have been able to do that prior. I refuse to believe that him on his own strength bent that pipe. Like, that had to be the serum. And then when he jumps out the window, he does like that super soldier uh landing on top of the van, where it doesn't really, the impact doesn't affect him. He just kind of sort of braces his fall. But then there are moments in this episode, like I said, when he's fighting, that it looks exactly like um how he was fighting prior to taking the serum. So like, there, I think just from a directing, them directing the action, there were some inconsistencies with how they directed the action in this series. More so than, I guess, the I don't think it's a plot issue. I think it's just them. I don't think they had the best fight choreography and action in directing the action in this series that we've seen in other series. Like, I think back to Winter Soldier. Like, I think Winter Soldier has some of the best fight choreography in the MCU. Like, those action sequences between Bucky and Cap are like, those are some of the best in Marvel.
The
That
I would say the
him fighting in the street, and then Civil War's got some good stuff too. Like, those, I mean, yeah. But what would you say?
I was going to argue that my second best would probably be in Black Panther specific. Well, anytime the Dora Milaje, because they're serious about their
The
training.
Dora, yeah, the
But
Dora
the
definitely
scene
comes through
where
strong.
they're on like the landing pad in Black Panther, where it's the three Dora fighting Killmonger, that's an epic fight scene right
Yeah,
there.
and
And
it's, and the way they direct the action in that sequence is very strong. And I personally don't think that the way the action was directed, I don't know if it's the choreography or how they direct the action, or a combination of both, but it was not as strong as we've seen Marvel execute in the past.
I don't want to just thrash it for a whole hour when we
No,
have,
no.
you know, so I do want to say things that I liked about it. Take it back to episode 2. The introduction of Isaiah Bradley was probably the biggest surprise to me. I did not expect to see him in the show at all. So I was very excited to see that they even introduced that character. I was happy. I mean, the character made me sad, but I enjoyed the conversations about race and, you know, how Sam was maneuvering the world as a Black hero. I appreciated that he had that conversation with Bucky about it. That scene actually got a lot of people upset on social media. throughout the week. But the scene from last episode where they're talking while he's training, man, some y'all they were
That
mad.
was some, yeah, and I saw that too on the internet. I don't understand like where that anger came from. Like people are just
Yeah,
disgusting. But like to me, like because I want to touch on that because we didn't that this happened after we shot the episode last week, and for those who don't know, people were upset that essentially they were upset that Bucky apologized to Sam for not understanding the gravity of a black Captain America. People were upset that he apologized for like, and I'm like, yo, y'all are insane. Like, it's nothing. I can't understand for the life of me because that was one of the strongest moments for me in the film. Like, it's not him being um, he wasn't being an apologist. He just understood what he didn't understand in the moment. Like he was frustrated that Sam would turn down the opportunity to become Captain America, but never took into account what it really meant for him to become Captain America on beyond the surface level. And then when he realized what it was beyond the surface level, he apologized. And I thought that was a really good and important character moment for their relationship, really.
there was a lot of valuable writing in this show. I mean, also it was a little difficult to accept because of his outfit, but Sam's speech in this episode was very valuable. I think the fact that he had that suit on took away from it, but he said all of the right things, as I think he has in every episode. There hasn't been a scene that's gone by where he said the wrong thing. I was talking about it off camera, the scene where he was talking to Carly in episode 4,
Yeah.
before John Walker came in. I thought that was pretty valuable too. Honestly, they could have sold me a whole show just having conversations. It's still been great.
Those moments were like the best parts of the show from personally because it gave me so much insight into how these characters think and feel,
Yeah,
and like it gave me a better understanding of their motivations and more so than I had before. Like Bucky, I understand Bucky because we got a lot with Bucky, but Sam in particular has always kind of sort of been the side character and the
mm-hmm.
sidekick, and so for him to be front and center really showcased who he was as a person and like just just how authentically good of a dude he is, and it's like those were so very very important moments in the show, and like those are some of the strongest moments in the show for me, and it's why it's it's still up there. I mean, I still have like overall like it's at an 8. I feel like this episode was like a 7, but last week's episode is like 8.5 still. Like that was one of the strongest episodes in the season, and I felt like I just wanted the finale to go out as strong, but it kind of sort of it was fine. Like like I said, it's a 7. It's not like it was horrible, but it wasn't for me as strong as last week's.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, I felt like they wrapped up a lot of stuff in episode 5 so that we could go out with a bang in this episode, and it
Right.
still feels like they went back on that and touched on that
Yeah.
anyway. Like,
Yeah.
you have to take us back to Louisiana. They're good. We know that.
Right.
So I don't know, that extra time that I feel like they kind of wasted in this episode could have been used on other things.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Like it was it's not it didn't hurt the episode, but it just felt redundant almost. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like it was like, oh, why did they I understand why those moments happened, but after last week it was kind of like I don't know if we I don't think we needed it. It didn't seem it seemed a little forced. Like it kind of felt it almost felt cheesy.
Yeah, like,
Kind of sort of
why
like
are
that
they doing
old
that?
Marvel format, kind of like something that they got away from. Like, cause it reminded me of a lot of the stuff prior to Winter Soldier, like the tone Marvel had prior to Winter Soldier coming out. Like Winter Soldier reset the tone of Marvel going forward to where they, found a way to balance the levity and lightheartedness with some really serious character driven drama. You know what I'm saying? And like this kind of had moments where it reverted back to that, and And it was like, we thought we kind of deviated away from that. I thought we've, figured out we don't need to do that anymore. We can keep a serious tone and still maintain that level of levity that uh, we can appreciate as viewers so
I
that
think
it doesn't get too dark.
this episode could have gotten darker. I think that's where what
It
we're
got, yeah, it got a little too light out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like the victory was good, but it was like they went a little too overboard. Like there was, it felt almost too resolved in the victory, as if it were like, I know they tried to address the fact that this is still going to be a problem moving forward, but the way it ended almost felt like
I just don't
it
think
kind
it
of
was
took away.
necessary. They could have ended
Yeah,
7 minutes earlier and got rid of all of that stuff.
yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with that.
While it's on my mind, how do you feel about Sharon Carter being the power broker?
I think last week I speculated on her possibly being the power broker because I what my characters were Sharon and Thaddeus Ross, but I was convinced that the power broker was going to be Thaddeus Ross because for me it made sense given who he is and his connections and his involvement with the Project X, or not Project X, yeah, Project X,
Mm-hmm.
Weapon X program, not Project X, Weapon X program. So that for me was like my ideal power broker. I also had a thought too this week that I didn't share, but would have been an awesome power broker. Would have been um, what's my man, Norman Osborn.
Mm.
He would have been a great power broker, and like I thought we were going to get it because remember in the episode the gas was green.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had this theory. I was like, yo, what if it's Norman Osborn? Because, like, I added that. I didn't say it last week because, like I said, this was like a 2 days ago thing where I'm like, yo, Norman Osborn is actually kind of makes sense as a power broker. This is in New York. He is the type of dude we know. Spider-Man's been in the MCU for a while now, much longer than the other characters have. So it's about time we get a Norman Osborn appearance, and we know that it's possible that he'll be popping up in Spider-Man. So I was like, yo, what if they do introduce him as possibly the power broker? I thought that would have been hype. And then we see the little green gas canisters, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Could it be? And then it was Sharon. But I think overall for me, the reveal was very much underwhelming. I didn't like how they revealed that she was the power broker. I don't mind her being the power broker because it makes sense that she is, but I just felt like it fell flat for me.
I think if she could have come and killed her before she killed Sam and they never had any interaction, if
That
if
would have been a great moment
Sharon killed Carly before, like
before
having
Sam
her,
showed
and
up.
there was no conversation between them at all, and then the episode ended with that post-credit scene, I think I would have valued that. Normie Tenor says, I still don't think she is. Normie Tenor, I think she's working for someone. I refuse to believe that the grand or the niece of Peggy Carter would just all of a sudden be a criminal, even though the US did her dirty. I just don't want to accept it. I'm sorry. It looks weird to me.
That's part of my issue with it as well because of her lineage. Not to say it can't happen because of the lineage, but you got to do a lot. You got to do better to sell me on that. Normies to nerds, I agree with you there though. Like it's still possible that she may not be. Maybe she's involved with the power broker somehow. It is not firmly stated like definitively that she is the power broker. It's just been strongly implied that she is. I would still prefer power broker be Thaddeus Ross or Norman Osborn from Oscorp. I now that I think about it, Oscorp makes so much more sense. Like that just makes a lot more sense to me than even because Thaddeus Ross, he has government connections that could kind of sort of hinder some things there with him being the power broker, but Norman Osborn being the head of a big corporation, and being Norman Osborn, it would make sense for him to be a power broker or a character like Norman Osborn. Also, too, gotta address this. This was in New York City. Where was Spider Man? Where does this take place again? What when in the timeline?
This is before. This is well before Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Right. Where was he at?
Unless
we are in New York City, dog, and Spider Man don't pop up at all.
Let's make sure that it's not. No, I don't think it would be simultaneous because I can't see
it's like
Spider-Man going on a trip to Europe before they handle, just everything with the GRC or the G, wherever the letters are.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not asking for a Spider-Man cameo, but you put it in New York and then Spider-Man just, like, they had a long fight. That battle was long. That was like the second act of the film, and it was in downtown. Where's the UN building? In that
Falcon and the Winter Soldier said about 6 months after Endgame. And then when does Spider-Man?
In that like 8 years? No, 5 years?
5 years. When
it's 5 years,
like
right?
5 years.
5 years after Endgame.
Yes. So 5 years.
What was Spider-Man doing? Like, what was he doing? Yeah, see, I'm trying to tell you. Like, and I thought about it like I said, a couple days ago after we did the video last week of the episode, because I was strong on Thaddeus Ross being the power broker, and I still am, but I would not. Thaddeus Ross, I mean not Thaddeus Ross, but Norman Osborn also makes sense.
The film makes it very clear, and I think they do actually say like dates and stuff when the students, but this takes place 8 months after everybody. So Far From Home would take place 2 months after this show. So I agree. Where is he?
Yeah, that made no sense to me. Like, what was he doing? He was he doing homework? Was he too busy? Like, to make an appearance? It is after school. It was late at night on a regular weekday. He couldn't have been too busy.
I mean, Doctor Strange is in New York too.
That's also a fact. Like, that's point being. But see, Doctor Strange, I'm not sure he would intervene in something like this, because this is not a magic threat.
Looking at it, using, biting the apple, chilling, like this.
Yeah, like he's like, yeah, this ain't this, like, that's not his thing. Like, he's gonna handle him popping up. He should have popped up in WandaVision, that's for sure.
Okay,
but him, I can understand him kind of like ignoring this.
Did Aunt May blip like everybody else?
I have no idea.
Because I could definitely say this. If Spider-Man is in New York when all this is happening, I can see her, no, you can't go.
Like I said,
you can't go. Sorry, you can't go. No.
Oh, yeah.
Because
she would have been there. Yeah, she would have been home by herself. Like, if she didn't get blipped away, she would have been basically on her own. She lost them.
She would have been by herself, and she would have, at the very least, maybe known. Happy may have told her, yo, he's in outer space, when he left at the beginning of Infinity War. So when all that stuff is happening, like, she's got to know, yo, he's out there. She's probably not happy with that idea of him going more.
And they never addressed that either. I don't think about it, because like we don't even see Aunt May again until, is she in Far From Home? I'm assuming she's in Far From Home.
Yeah.
Briefly, probably mentioned.
Yes. She's in Far From Home at the beginning when he leaves and he's packing. And I think she's there when he gets back home. Because I think they addressed that her and Happy are a thing in that film. Yeah, her and Happy are dating, and he's like, yo, this is weird, but it's addressed in that film.
That is hilarious. That is very weird. That's tough for Spider-Man not to pop up in all this action, given he is your neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, he definitely would have popped up. If this were the comic books, Spider-Man would have been there. That's all I'm saying. In some capacity, at least briefly, like the whole helicopter chase scene. Like,
it was a parody thing that he was doing at the beginning of Far From Home. I don't remember. I'll have to check it out again. Normies to Nerds.
Okay, so we know how fragile John Walker's ego is. Can you imagine if Spider-Man had showed up and fought him? Because He was broken after Dora Milaje beat up. Like, can you imagine like a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid pops up?
That's what he deserves.
Oh man, it would have been great. I would have lived. That would have been a great moment. Talk about comedy.
Yeah.
Because Spider
That
Man.
just
He's
made me
gonna
think
he's gonna
about
talk the
Spider-Man
whole
and
time. He's gonna talk junk the whole time.
I don't think they could have won that battle in Civil War without Spider-Man. The one
Absolutely
at the
not.
airport, like they needed him for
He
that.
was absolutely essential for
Yeah.
that. But that would have been hilarious because the airport scene when they're going through and he's fighting Bucky and Sam,
Mm-hmm.
and he's talking the whole time. It was hilarious. That was like one of the best Spider-Man moments that we've gotten on film.
He's
That's
like,
what like
so nice
made
to
everybody
meet you.
fall in love with him as Spider-Man. Like you bought into it. Like yes, that's Spider-Man from the comic books. Like he is a showboat. He's got a quick wit, and he's always got a comeback. So like, yeah, that would have been a hilarious battle.
Next time. Well, not next time. We'll see Spider-Man again.
Can't you like just imagine him seeing the fake shield?
I can see
Oh my god, that would have been
well,
great.
light.
Like what? That was great. But yeah, um,
I'm trying to think. Anything else? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I said this at the beginning. I am going to take time to go back and watch it back to back to back without stopping, because there's definitely watching it weeks apart. Watching each episode weeks apart does have an impact. So I would like to see it, from beginning to end. Now that I've seen everything, no expectations, just sit down and watch it over. And maybe there might be things that I noticed in the beginning that I didn't notice because we've finished it now.
I agree with that. I think I'll see it watching it from a holistic standpoint will probably solidify. Right now it's still sitting at an 8 for me as a overall as a series. Like much better than WandaVision was. However, I think a lot of the hype around WandaVision subverted expectations.
Yeah. But I will say, just for everybody, WandaVision deserves to be watched again from beginning to end now that it's finished. I saw it recently and I did enjoy it a lot more this second time around, just watching it from beginning to end without, oh, maybe this is going to happen. That does have a significant impact on us. So if you have time, go back and watch WandaVision. I think you'll have a different opinion about it when it ends.
Yeah, the story there. I'll have to go rewatch both of these series at some point. I did rewatch WandaVision from start to finish that week that the last episode came out. And like I just watched them, like I just binged it until like 3 o'clock in the morning when the episode dropped and just continued watching it. So from that sense I did have like a different level of appreciation for it because the story played out a little different in that regard. So it is worth watching it, to your point, like once again from a holistic standpoint. Same with this series, just to see what the story was that was told, because there were a lot of, you're always going to have some speculations as a fan as to what could happen, and so
we went ahead.
We did go overboard on the one stuff,
but
that's not our fault though, because
Marvel in general. Marvel fans in general.
They messed up on that one a little bit with the hype, but this show was a little different. I think they did a good job of kind of sort of quelling a lot of the rumors early whenever they weren't, because there were some things that were rumored to happen and that the showrunner jumped on like social media really quick and was like, yo, nope, that's not going to happen. Yeah. So like I think just for that, like a lot of the expectations were kind of, they were metered better than in kind of sort of kept in check more so than they were for WandaVision by Marvel and the showrunners. We got Loki next, which is in June
11th.
So that's what
I'm excited for Loki. I'm excited because it's going to be a different kind of show. I don't think we're going to have seen anything like it before. As far as visuals, I think we're going to see Thor Ragnarok level visuals, maybe even better, possibly. I hope they use the what's that technology they use to film Mandalorian?
The volume.
I hope they
Stay
use
or nope, never mind. Sorry, stagecraft is what it's now officially known as.
stage stuff. I hope they're using that for Loki. But other than that, I'm not going to speculate on what's going to happen in the show. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to enjoy the show. I said before Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to started that I was not going to do any speculation. I did a little bit, but I controlled myself in the most part. And I enjoyed this. This was a nice process. I do have some complaints at the end, but I'm going to try to keep up with the same attitude for Loki. Just sit back and enjoy the show. And yeah.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, because we're a couple months out from that happening, I would still like to do something on Fridays, whether it's Marvel related. It doesn't have to be for an hour, but like I'm okay with just hopping. If there's some like Marvel related news that we want to talk about and hop on, I'm definitely okay with if everyone in the comment section and watching this wants to hear us talk about Marvel for an hour on Fridays. We can continue to do so. Um, we definitely have the Bad Batch coming out week after next. So next there won't be anything coming out next week, but the week after that we have 2 episodes of the Bad Batch premiering on May 4th. And I will probably do the review on Sundays.
Real quick, JBM said something in the chat that I think is worth showing. He says, I didn't think bullets could kill a super soldier. I was wondering what was up with that too. The only thing that I can think of is since she is the power broker, she would have the bullets capable to do so. We did see her in this scene, in this episode, use some weird bomb thing that was able to kill a super soldier with liquid magnesium. Knowing that she is or is at least connected to the power broker, she should have access to bigger than normal weaponry. But I agree that maybe they should have talked about it more. Maybe it should have been a question. I think it would have been more impactful if the conversation between them didn't happen and she just killed her. And then at the end, we see that maybe that would leave her more speculation about how she killed her, but it's definitely a plot hole.
So it's something that they just have to address because they do kind of address it in the comic books. Like there are different levels of super soldier in super soldier serums out there, different potencies, if you will. Like Captain America's, Steve Rogers and Isaiah Bradley had like the most potent version, if you will, of the super soldier. Well, maybe you could argue the Hulk because that was technically supposed to be a super soldier serum. But yeah, they're varying degrees, but they haven't addressed those degrees. I personally feel like this version that Carly took and John Walker took in the show, I don't think it's anywhere near as potent as the version that Steve Rogers took. I think it is, and maybe that was actually implied because the scientist that they found in Madripoor basically was hinting at he was trying to recreate the serum from scratch, and so like he's going through these different iterations, and I think that he's got close to it and then he was blipped away and then he had to start over. So I believe that they could basically say, but they could retcon in a way. I don't know if it's a retcon, it's a soft retcon basically, and say that no, this is a less potent dose of the super soldier serum than Steve Rogers got.
Side note, I now need to go back and watch episode 3, knowing that Sharon Carter is or is connected to the power broker, because she showed up to the fight where old boy died. So I need to see, like, knowing how it ends now, I need to rewatch that sequence and find out what's going on, because was she trying to save him? Is that why she showed up? I need to go back and check that out because something's up.
That's what, because last week that's what reminded me that it's possible that she could actually be the power broker, or at least working with the power broker. Because I was like, either they're going to introduce Thaddeus Ross, well, not introduce, but Thaddeus Ross will show up in the show and they would confirm that Thaddeus is the power broker, or they're just going to keep her one of the recurrent characters as the power broker. And for me, the only person that made sense of the characters we'd already seen was Sharon. And in that moment, because there's something that she whispers or says to her driver before she gets into the car about like she has to check on something or whatever. I can't remember what it was exactly, but they left some leeway for her to be the power broker or at least connected to it.
Yeah, she definitely was working with something a little
Yeah,
than
yeah,
expected.
yeah. It was a very subtle thing. Park outdoors. What's going on? Yeah. Hey, Shang-Chi though. That trailer. Did you watch that? You watched that, right?
Nope.
You haven't seen the Shang-Chi trailer?
Nope.
Ooh, that's tough, man. That's a good.
I'm gonna check it
Why? Why haven't you seen that?
Just busy. I'm trying to watch everything I can to premiere for tomorrow.
Okay, so yeah. Well, never mind. Well, I guess we'll discuss that at the time. But man, if you hadn't seen the Shang-Chi trailer, I would definitely go check that out. Everyone watching. I'm looking forward to that. That looked really good. I'd see that it's going through some extensive reshoots because it didn't land well in the Asian markets. So
See, I'm getting excited for a trailer for a movie that's not. I'm not happy with Marvel and how they're moving film wise right now. This is not why I haven't watched the trailer, but I'm not getting hype for films until we are very, very close to a release date. I'm talking like weeks away because I got hype for Black Widow 2 years ago and we still have not seen the film. And as far as I'm concerned, June or July is when it's supposed to come out. It's still far enough for them to push it back again. So I'm not getting hype about Marvel films until they can come out. I'm honestly not interested in coming on here and breaking down trailers for movies that we're not going to see until 2025. Yeah, I do know we're getting shows at a regular interval. That's like Loki is absolutely happening. So I can get excited about that. I'm not getting hype for Marvel films because they keep pushing it back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think something was close to or was wrapped. I don't know, but yeah, they until we get a more consistent release schedule for these movies and everything is returning to normal. It is difficult to say when things are actually going to hit theaters or not. They are very adamant about things going to theater. I feel like HBO is taking the best approach right now, which is that the dual release to streaming and to the theaters. Saw Mortal Kombat today. That was amazing. Definitely love that.
There's this weekend.
Yeah, that was a fun film. Very much true to the video game.
Nice.
In the best sense possible. Like I won't review because this is a Marvel show. But I will say that regardless, the Shang-Chi trailer is something I'm looking forward to. I follow the actor on Twitter and he's a very cool dude. Like he's very passionate about this role, and so I'm excited because he seems like he's very much invested into the character, and that's always a good sign from your lead that he's really taking this on as like almost as a badge of honor for him. So like that's always cool, and he's got a great personality. So I'm pretty sure, regardless of what happens with the reshoots, I'm hoping that this is going to be a very strong film, and I'm looking forward to seeing it whenever it does come out.
I'll get excited for it 3 Fridays before the release date. If we get 3 Fridays away, then I know it's actually coming out and I can get hyped.
Yeah. Also, Russell Crowe confirmed on a radio show that he was playing Thor. I mean, not Thor, but Zeus.
Was he supposed to say that?
Nope, not at all. But he did.
That's hilarious. They got him like Tom Holland.
Yep. They called him. They called him in a candid moment, and he revealed the fact that actually. So he said it actually in this interview. He said that it was his last day on set as Zeus, and it was like, all right, cool. There you go. That's. I know you weren't supposed to say that because we didn't even know the character was going to be in there. It was rumored, but he definitely totally confirmed it to an Australian radio today or yesterday, whenever time thing happens. I don't know when it was, but it was recent.
Okay, completely unrelated. Now that you mentioned it, that's what I want to see in the next Wonder Woman film. Take us back to the gods. Take us back to where Mount Olympus, is that where the where they live, or whatever island
that Mount Olympus.
No, where the Amazons live. Wherever Amazon land is, I forget the name of the island where they live. They need to go back there. I want to see Zeus. I want to see the gods. There's got to be that level of battle. Now that it's on my mind, that's what the tone should be for Wonder Woman 4. No, 3. Sorry.
Yeah, the only way we would get that is if Zack Snyder was involved. It's just unfortunate, but like I just don't think that they will go into that direction because that's exactly the type of story he was trying to tell, and it's clear from the Snyder cut that that was kind of sort of the direction that he was going with the story. So that's not something that Warner Brothers wants. So I don't think we're gonna get that. And if they do it, it's not going to be. I don't think they're going to execute it well because there has to be that level, that epicness to the story that Zack Snyder handled so well in the Snyder cut that I don't think I think they're going to lighten it up too much. I was watching the Den of Nerds and I think Josh said that the Aquaman one was like a mediocre Marvel movie, and I was like, yeah, that's my problem with that movie now. Because like everything in hindsight, after watching the Snyder cut, I see just Marvel, that Marvel template overdone on, yeah,
gritty film, and it was not.
It could have, yeah, it could have been like one of those Greek epic tales of like of tragedy and heroism, but we got what we got. And I just feel like the Snyder vision for DC was way better than what we've gotten thus far. So I'm just not going to hope for the quality of DC films in the future until they find a decent visionary.
Let's not get me started on DC today. I was having a good day.
Yeah. So anyway, we're on a Marvel show, and we will conclude because we're an hour 22 in. And thank you everybody for watching. Been fun. Definitely enjoyed these recaps of this show. Looking forward to Loki, and definitely looking forward to the Bad Batch in a week, 2 weeks time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Imani, where can they find us?
You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Certified Gumbo. If you enjoyed this conversation and you would like to talk to us some more, I'm talking to you, Kanar. I saw your question about the Demon Slayer movie. Join us on Discord. We talk about these things all the time, and I do believe there have been some conversations about that in the anime chat room. Again, join us on Discord. If you love us and you would like to support us, please buy us some coffee. The link is in the description bar down below. Like this video, and please subscribe to our channel. Tomorrow on the Cookout, we will be bringing in the rest of the Marvel films, although I do question whether or not we're going to get through that list. But we're going to be bringing the rest of the Marvel films into our list. I'm all over the place now. Last week, we ranked the MCU films from best to worst. Number 1, we had Civil War, and at 23, is it Thor?
No. We had didn't we have Winter Soldier at number 1, and then number 2 was Civil War?
No, y'all beat me down. I'm gonna pull it up.
I promise you, I thought we had Civil War there.
Y'all, I fought for that and I lost. Number 1 is Captain America: Civil War. Number 2 is Winter Soldier. Number 3 is Black Panther. 4, Infinity War. 5, Endgame. And in the final, Thor: The Dark World at in the last place.
Yes, that makes sense.
Dang. But we are now going to add the rest of the Marvel franchise in. I don't believe that we can do it in a decent amount of time. So I think we're going to start with X-Men. We're going to bring in Spider-Man, and then we're going to pop into the extra little movies that they have here and there after that. But I think that X-Men, there's a lot of X-Men films.
I was about to say, yeah.
It took us some time to get through that.
What we can do, we can start with we can just start with Fox, because that would be all the X-Men movies, and then Fantastic Four, and then gauge where we are from there, because then Sony is the Spider-Verse.
Got you.
And are we including the Spider-Verse, the animation? Into the Spider-Verse with Miles
Not
Morales?
now, only because we originally started with no animation. However, we will have opportunity to argue that later. So we're going to leave Into the Spider-Verse out of it for now.
Okay.
And then, because I mean, if we include animation, there's a lot of DC animation that's going to have to come into this list later on. And I don't feel like doing that.
I agree. That's
That's
fine.
too much work.
That is fine. So I will. I think it was a fun conversation last week. So if you didn't watch that, that was definitely a great episode. So that's on the channel. Go back and check that out because the process that we went through to rank these films, that's where all that's where all the money is right there. That was one of the funnest episodes that we've done on this show.
Yes.
And we definitely looking forward to doing it tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And Coop, Star Wars Sunday.
Star Wars Sunday. Yes, we will do Star Wars Sunday. I don't know what my topic is just yet. I believe I will be talking about Thrawn because there's been some rumblings, I think. And KOTOR remake. Gotta talk about that. So yeah, I forgot about that. I gotta recap. I haven't had a chance to go plan what my show topics are going to be, but yes, I will be doing Star Wars Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the channel as well. Definitely
Cool.
tune in for that. And you got anything else?
Definitely not tomorrow, but at some point we will be discussing Mortal Kombat. So go watch it.
Absolutely. Let's do that. We'll do that next week. Maybe we'll do a special episode sometime if we're all available to get on and talk about it. Because
We can do a
I think
special episode, just talk about Mortal Kombat for a bit. That's cool.
yeah, I think it's worth having a discussion, you know, just on that specifically. Spoilers, we will be talking spoilers on it when we do it, whether it be on the, because I think we're going to be like basically ranking these superhero movies on Saturdays for a little while now. So I'm open to doing an episode for Mortal Kombat. And yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And without further ado, peace, love, blessings, and may the force be with you always.
Bye, y'all.